There are a series of cryptic questions, code words, and handshakes throughout Masonry that ultimately mean very little and only exist to allow Masons to recognize each other, basically. For example, the password of a fellow craft Mason is Shibboleth. That's Shibboleth. And the password for a Master Mason is Tubal Cain. Tubalcain. So many people have joined Masonry to learn some hidden knowledge, and they get stuck memorizing a bunch of dumb lines that really don't mean anything, and they don't learn anything either. So if you want to understand what Masonry is all about, you must look closely at the Master Mason's ritual concerning Hiram Abiff, which I will explain in great detail in a few moments. But before we get there, I need to highlight a couple of ritual lines in the fellow craft or second degree. So in the second degree, instead of being jabbed with a compass point after the fellow craft initiate is shown into the lodge, he is stabbed with a corner of a square. So when you see this great sign of Freemasonry, the compass and square forming a diamond shape, understand that Freemasons do not use these tools to build anything like we may do. Instead, they use these instruments to poke the chest of initiates to warn them what will happen if they go against their upstanding orders. Then under the oath of the second degree Freemason, they have a penalty, and it differs slightly from the apprentice degree. Instead of having your throat cut and your tongue pulled out, in the second degree you swear that you will support the Constitution of the Grand Lodge of the U.S. and the Grand Lodge of your state, and to conform to all the laws, rules, and regulations of this or any lodge you may become a member of. You will obey all regular signs and summons given or sent or thrown to you by the hand of a fellow craft Mason or lodge, and you bind yourself under no less penalty than to have your breast torn open and your heart and vitals ripped out and then thrown over your shoulder, and then your body left to be devoured by wild beasts. Alright, so moving on to the third degree, or the Master Mason degree, there's an emphasis placed on the Hiram Abiff ritual, the widow's son. So the Master Mason knocks on the lodge door 3 times. The password is Tubal Cain. And the Master Mason initiate comes in shirtless and is tortured with both points of the compass this time. So they jab it into both sides of his chest simultaneously, and then he does his little stroll around the room, and they read this very creepy passage that is found on page 56 of Illustrations of Masonry. Alright, so they used the word thy, but I'm going to replace that with you so that it reads a little bit more clearly. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, when the evil days do not come, nor do the years draw near, when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light, the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of a bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low, and when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goes to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets, or even the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit return unto the God who gave it. So that passage begins to expose that along your path of Freemasonry, you are not headed toward the light, but darkness, where keepers of the house tremble, where windows are darkened, the music of daughters are brought low, fear shall be in the way, and desire shall fail. So the oath of a Master Mason is very much the same as the second degree. Only the Master swears to obey all orders handed down by Master Masons, the exception being the order to commit murder and treason, which is left to his own election. So in other words, that is left up to the Master Mason if he wants to follow orders that command him to commit murder and treason, and then move up into the higher degrees of Freemasonry. And the penalty for going against the Master Mason's oath is to have your body severed in two and your bowels burnt to ash. So now let's discuss the ritual of the Master Mason's degree concerning Hiram Abiff. Now, according to their Master Mason ritual, the Freemasons say that 15 fellow craft Freemasons have plotted to kill Hiram Abiff, who they call a Grand Master. And they want to kill him so they could steal his words and they could steal his work, and then pass themselves off as the masters and creators of this guy's work, and then make a lot of money doing that. So Hiram Abiff was not a Freemason, or in other words, he was not a part of their cult, whatever that group called their secret society in ancient times. During the so-called building of King Solomon's temple, Hiram Abiff was not a part of this group, so he was targeted by them. Hiram Abiff was a great architect who was employed as probably the head architect who was building a temple, but the actual Grand Master of the cult was King Solomon. And King Solomon was very jealous of Hiram Abiff. So King Solomon had waited until Hiram Abiff had almost completed building this temple, all along plotting with the secret society to kill Hiram Abiff and take credit for the building of the temple. Hence it's called King Solomon's Temple. So according to this Freemasonic ritual, after helping to plot the whole murder out, 12 conspirators supposedly recanted at the last second, and the actual killing is left to the 3 remaining Freemasons. And this was probably the plan all along, because you don't need 15 people to kill one guy. They would elect a few guys to play the role of assassins. So during the Master Mason's degree, Freemasons will reenact the ritual murder of the G, or the great architect named Hiram Abiff. So Hiram Abiff is attacked by 3 Masons who are called ruffians, who all demand the secret words from Hiram Abiff so they could then pretend to be masters themselves. So Abiff refuses to give them up. So the first Freemason cuts Hiram Abiff's throat with a measuring tool called a gauge. Then the next Freemason stabs Abiff in the heart with another tool called a square. Then the third assassin attacks Hiram Abiff, striking him with a hammer across his head. Now these assassins are using tools that would otherwise be used for building. So they are using instruments of construction as weapons for a murder. So what these Freemasons are demonstrating is that the Freemasonic cult hides murder and death behind tools of construction and building. So they're using tools of builders and masters not to construct and develop, but to murder and destroy. And that exposes what the highest levels of Freemasonry do in secret. The ruffians, as they are called, who attack this great architect are not simple thugs. They are actually military brotherhood agents who are under orders to attack and kill a true master and builder and source of light. So the military brotherhood has searched for and then located a source of light. So then they could destroy the source, steal the light, and then pass it off as their own. So the G in Masonry often stands for great architect, but this less means God and more means a builder or a creator, or how I say, the man with the plan. So the G is always the enemy of higher level Freemasons. The G is the enemy of military orders and the Vatican. So that is how these false masters, these military brotherhood guys and Catholic priests, stay in power. By killing the best of you, cutting your throats, stealing whatever you are working on, they steal your love, and then they sell it to the ignorant masses. And that is the only way these useless, talentless piles of human trash can stay in power, by destroying anyone that is actually building or creating something or trying to do something right. And that is always who the military brothers and the Roman Catholic fathers consider a threat. And the same thing happened to the man whose book I am reading from now. And that is William Morgan, a source of light, a source of intellect, who wished to enlighten the rest of us. So if you are interested, I read from his book called Illustrations of Masonry, and I spoke more about this on a documentary video series called Life, Abduction, and Murder of William Morgan. There's a part 1 through 7. It's on the Bulletproof Cyrus 13 website. Here's that website address, and then do a search for Life, Abduction, and Murder of William Morgan. Yet to summarize William Morgan's story, a gang of military guys who were also Freemasons heard that Master Mason William Morgan was publishing a book that revealed the rituals on the first 3 degrees of Masonry and a lot of his commentary to go with it. And he was doing this in hopes that somebody could make some sense of these Freemasonic rituals, because he couldn't. After joining and studying Freemasonry and talking to other Freemasons for many decades, basically Morgan had no idea what these assholes were doing or talking about with these rituals, because Morgan was not involved on the higher levels of Freemasonry because he was a good guy, and he wasn't a piece of shit that the military brotherhood or the Vatican could recognize as their own. He was an intellect who actually thought Freemasonry possessed some integrity or ancient wisdom, and that was why he joined up. When in fact, this is the truth about Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a secret society that the military uses to obtain accomplices to their crimes. These Freemasonic accomplices are everyday citizens who join the Freemasons and become something like a junior military order and a stable of human cattle to be used and manipulated as the military sees fit. And these guys all want you to take military-styled oaths to the Freemasons that you agree to be tortured and killed if you go against the Master Masons, swearing allegiance to them so that the U.S. military could better run operations in society, illegal operations against regular American society. So all you Freemasons will help them commit treason against their own country, spying on their own countries and secretly executing their own citizens that they are sworn to protect.